Now let's take a look at an example using all of these concepts. In this example, we want Tracy to display the values and data types of two variables on both the canvas and the console. We can see that we're starting with two variables. var1 is the value 12 surrounded by quotation marks, so I know that this is a string type. The second variable, var2, is just the number 12, so I know that this is an integer. Let's start by printing the value of the variable to the console using our newly learned print command. I want the user to know what information I'm giving them. So let's first add print variable1 so they know this is the first variable's value. Let's see if that does what I want. Perfect. Now I want to print the value of that variable. So I'll add another print statement with var1. Let's run that. Awesome. Note that I wrote var1 inside the print statement, but it didn't print that text to the console. It printed the value of the variable. If I instead had surrounded var1 with quotation marks and ran this, I see that the actual text var1 gets printed, which is not what I want, so I'll switch it back. Remember that anytime you want to use the value of a variable, we just use the variable name and do not surround it with quotation marks. Okay, now let's print the type of this variable to the console. I'll give my user some information about this by adding print type of variable1, variable, and then I can add print type var1. Notice that I had two opening parentheses, so I need to close two parentheses at the end of my command. Let's see how that looks. Perfect. I want to do the same thing for the second variable, so I'm just going to copy and paste and change the number 1 to the number 2. Great, I can see variable 1 and variable 2's information. Now I want to add the same information to the canvas. I know that to add labels to my canvas, I need to use the write command, and Tracy will add the label at whatever locations she is at. So I'll need to move her. I don't want to trail as she moves, so I'm going to first call pen up and then go to, let's say, 50, 100. So she's near the top of the canvas. I'll use my write command, and I want to give the same information to the user. So I'll add variable 1, and I want to make sure it's large enough to read. So let's give information for the font attribute, and I want this information to be on the left side, and then the actual value of the variable to print next to it on the right side. So I'm going to use my align attribute, and when Tracy writes this label, I want her to stand to the right of it. Let's see how that works. Perfect. Let's use a second write command to add the value of the variable. So I'll use var1 as the text and set the font attribute. And set the align attribute to left now. Let's see it all together. Awesome. Now let's move Tracy down a bit before she writes the data type of this variable. So I'll call go to 50, maybe 70. I want to use the same two commands I just used, but I want to print different information. So I'm going to copy and paste these and change the first label to say type of variable1 and surround var1 with the type function. This should print the type of the variable instead of its value. Let's see how it looks. I'm seeing the same issue I had last time we were in the editor where it should print that it's a string type, but it is printing undefined. This is because the write command cannot automatically convert the information given by the type function into a string. But thankfully, we know how to change it to a string using casting. We can surround the type var1 with a stir cast, which will change it to a string before it's given to the write command to print. Let's see if that works. Awesome. The only thing left to do is repeat this with the second variable. So I'm going to copy and paste all of these commands. And just change all of the 1s to 2s. I'll also need to send Tracy to locations a bit further down on the canvas. So let's use 50, -70, and 50, -100. Let's see if that all works together. Awesome! Now it's your turn to practice these concepts in some Tracy programs.